Hello and welcome to another video tutorial. In this video I'll be covering Storyteller 2020.1.2 and Gamebridge 2020.1.3. Now I'll be moving forward with the thinking that you have seen our previous videos on working with Storyteller, in particular our tutorial set, which you can find on a playlist on our channel. The playlist is called Making a Game with Storyteller and Gamebridge in Unity. So if you have not seen that tutorial set yet, then it'd be a good idea to watch it. There are 4 videos. The first one explains what Storyteller is. The other 3 cover creating an entire game project and using Storyteller to help make that possible. And so just moving right along here, we'll be covering the new updates in Storyteller and the Gamebridge. Well, Gamebridge in particular, since that's where the bulk of the updates are. So we're currently in the dating sim scene here. And if we go ahead and we run this scene right now, we'll see that we have a solid example scene here. These example characters you'll see here, these sprites here, are not included in this project here. These 2 character sprites aren't included. However, they are free to use, and I'll include a link for you to download them in the description below. But let's cover some of the updates here. So if we select the Gamebridge here and we select our scene data, and if you remember what the scene data is, the scene data is basically a collection of all the data that you had in your Storyteller scene pushed into a small file here called scene data, which is used by our dialoguer or our individual characters if the characters have character components attached to them. And so if we select our dating sim dialoguer here and we go back to Gamebridge, we see that we can push over sound effects, voiceover, personality traits, and individual characters. Now, setting a sound effect and voiceover is actually quite simple, and I'll do that right now. And then I'll explain the significance of each of these after I set the sound effect and voice clip. So we don't actually have any sound effects in the project. There's a key press sound for the typing. So I don't actually need to go outside of Unity to get a sound effect. I can create one here with the dialog node. So I just created a new dialog node. I'm going to switch to voiceover mode. I'm going to hit the microphone here to record my voice. First, I'm just going to make sure that I have my microphone selected. So I'm currently using this microphone, which is the only microphone on this computer, by the way, so we use it by default. However, if you have multiple microphones, then you just go ahead and select the one you want to use as your primary microphone, which for me is the Samsung Meteor mic. All right. This is an example voice recording for a sound effect. And let's stop that. And you can see it's now saved inside of our dating sim project audio file. So I'm going to play this back. This is an example voice recording for a sound effect. All right, so there you go. All right, so what I'm going to do now is that I'm just going to delete this note here. And because the audio file is now saved inside of our project, we can double click on the sound effect area and assign it. And if you run our scene now, amazingly, nothing happens. The audio doesn't play. And why is that? Well, we haven't pushed the data over. So if you go back to Gamebridge now and go to our project and select our dating sim here, and we select sound effect, tick voiceover, even though we don't have any voiceovers recorded in the current scene, just the sound effect that we took from a voiceover. And we can push over personality traits. And before we do that, let's explain that and the significance of that. So as you know, inside of the My Story editor, you see all of your characters. You can select a character, and each character can have an unlimited number of evolutionary states. And each evolution state can have any number of voice clips to represent whatever you want it to represent, and can have different personality traits. And this is significant because you can use these values here, particularly if you're working with machine learning, for example, where you can actually use these minute values here. You can use all these values to shape how a character would behave. And since each of these values can represent a different, can be assigned to a different evolution state for your character, you can have a single character with multiple evolution states behaving in different ways in game. So let's go ahead and just remove these since we really don't need to use them right now. And let's just push them over into our dating sim here. And done. So let's go back to game here, and let's just run the scene now. And still nothing. And why is that? Well, if we look inside of here, we just set to use sound effect and use voiceover. We haven't actually turned on auto start. So if we turn on auto start for sound effects, which is what we have here, sound effect, then you're gonna hear it. This is an example voice recording. And then it moves on to the next one. All right, but what if we don't want to auto start? And again, auto start falls under general conditions, general settings. So this will happen for all nodes. So turn that off, and we can have it happen for just this individual node here, this individual set of data. And that's actually quite simple. So let's, in our condition system here, that auto starts to turn on our interface, our initial interface, and fade it in. Let's add a new event here, and let's drag in this dialogger component. And on the dialogger itself, there's a function named play sound effect now, and it's that simple. It's just gonna play the
this is an
sound effect.
example voice recording.
So there you go. So we have auto start off. However, we can still play our sound effects. And personally, this is my favorite way of going about it. Instead of having this broad brush setting, I now have this tailored setting here to play an audio clip. But if I had a very large story and everyone had voice clips or audio clips that needed to be played, then I'll just go ahead and turn this on. And now you saw the new typing system. However, I did not go through that. So let's go through that now. We've gone through the game bridge here and pushing the data. Oh, I forgot to go through this little bit here. So if you look at this, it says all characters are set up to be pushed. Do not unchecked characters who have ties to checked characters. Now the reason for this is because if two characters have a set interaction in Storyteller, however you push, you deselect one and push the rest, then there's going to be a gap left in the data of the pushed characters, and it's going to cause an error. So don't uncheck and push characters who have ties to checked characters. All right, so if we go back to our dialog here, this typing system here, we have instant and we have typed. The typing system is generally the same. It just has a better typing method. So if you go ahead and run the scene,
This is an example voice recording.
Typing is more uniform. I forgot to turn off the sound effect, so let's just remove that. So the typing is much more uniform than it was before. And you can increase or decrease the speed if you want. So let's go ahead and remove that sound effect and just push the data back over again. Just set it to none, and let's just grab this really quick, and done. All right. So what we're looking at here also, let's just remove this too. All right, so what we're looking at over here, we just looked at the typing system. And the next thing we're going to want to look at is the keyword filters. So we improved the keyword filter system to use two types of keyword filters, static and dynamic keyword filters. Static keyword filters simply just replace one word with another preset word, while a dynamic filter can access a public string. Public string method could be getSet. Public string method, which you can modify that string at runtime if you want, and that modified string will be used to replace this static string, or the string that it finds inside of your story project, inside of your game. So let's just go ahead and show you an example of that. So I'm going to create an empty game object. I'm going to add a script called example string method. And this script is included, so you can just go ahead and check it out if you want. But if I just go ahead and select it, you'll just see that this is what the script is. Public string, word B, get, return word B, set word B equal value. Typical get set. All right, so let's go back here. Scroll to our string method here. Let's just we just added the example string method to this game object, so let's put the game object here and say example string method, and let's see word, let's say get character name, or word A. Actually, let's say word A is equal to cat. Then when we run the game, wherever there's an instance of the word Ayumi, we're going to replace it with whatever get word A is. And in this case, get word A is going to be equal to cat. So let's continue playing through. And there we go. So now you know how that works. So let's go ahead and remove this. And again, we can remove these by setting the game object to null, and it will clear everything else. And just set that back to static. All right, the next thing that we're going to want to look at here is our new timing system. So if we go ahead and we select a node, let's say we select this node, for example, we're currently using a real-time delay here to fade in our character image. Now, what if we wanted a custom time? Then we could set one now of 4 seconds. And we could, we still have access to our default, the default values, such as real-time delay, delay, and duration. The one you will not have access to is start time. Start time happens at the beginning, so we should not have access to that. What we want though is access to duration delay, real-time delay, and now we have access to a custom time. And again, real-time delay is calculated at runtime, and we explained what real-time delay is in our previous tutorials. Now there's another thing here, which is help messages. So if you turn that on, you're going to get some information here in the UI explaining what some of the components are. So that should help you better understand it. So that covers this short video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next videos where we'll talk about some more updates.